How's it going, fellow young Cavs? I'm Zach Hendrix.
And I am Tyler Babb.
And today we are super excited, not just to have another new video for you, but to have an entirely new show. Today is the first episode of MCU Review, our new Friday night show that's going to come out on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Today's might be a little after 8 p.m. We'll see. It's before 8 p.m. when we're recording this, but random COVID and stuff like that and having to get tests and whatnot. It's just like, what's going on today? But with that, we're going to roll things out. So this MCU review is because 2020 was our first year without an MCU property coming out. And that was very strange. It was strange times. And yes, I know in general we weren't having movies, but when you go 10 years in a row getting movies, it's just the weirdest thing. And it made us realize, man, we miss Marvel. And we're so happy we're getting more Marvel. Like Miss Marvel. See what I did there? And like Spider-Man 3 at the end of the year. So we are just all aboard the Marvel hype train this year. And we are going to just be all aboard the Marvel hype train this year. So with that said, on this Friday night show, we will be reviewing MCU content. When there's new MCU content, that is what we will be talking about. When there is not new MCU content, we'll just be going back. So expect stuff about Iron Man 1, Guardians of the Galaxy. We're taking it all down. But we do have new content this week. We have not just one, but two episodes of WandaVision. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Tyler, you want to get us started with the WandaVision? I know you've come prepared. You have a whole thing of notes. I mean, you got Cap's shield behind you, Iron Man over to the side. It's looking pretty fresh.
Yes. So yes, we're, like Zach said, we were aboard the Marvel hype train this year, all leading up to Spider-Man 3, Homecoming, Spider-Man 3. They released the first episodes of WandaVision. Now the critics got 3 episodes. We only got 2. So we're going to kind of give our general thoughts about what we thought about the episode. Both the episodes, no spoilers. This is a strictly no spoilers for the first part of the review, and then we will jump into more speculation that brings in spoilers from the show.
Yes. So when we get into the spoilers, you don't have to worry about what if they just finish and all of a sudden they start talking about the spoiler stuff. We will give you time. We will give you a warning. We're going to say we are going into the spoiler section of this show now. So feel free to dip on out if you don't care, if you don't want spoilers. But until then, you have no worries. We're going to, and we're not just going to say it and then spit out like a spoiler, like Thanos gets all the stones. You know what I mean? Like we'll say it. We'll give you guys time. Maybe we won't stare judgingly at you as you leave and click exit. Maybe a little bit. Who knows? No judgment here. But yeah, so no worries about the spoilers. So we're all good there, just so you know.
Cool. Well, so the episode, the first one, they're shorter episodes, right? They're leaning into this old sitcom genre, right? They've picked a genre and they stuck to it full-heartedly. Which I give them absolute credit for. I think it's crazy that it's not like the other MCU content that normal MCU fans might be used to, right? So that's kind of what I want to say right off the top is if you're expecting normal Marvel content, I think you're going to be thrown if you don't really know what you're going to get into. Yeah, would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would say, like what you said is, oh, sorry, my phone is on. I am getting text from Mason about how our thumbnail should look for this video. Guys, the hype is real, but I will respond to him in a little bit. Not right now, just because we're doing this. And by a little bit, I mean when you're on camera again. But I would definitely agree with that. But I would take it even like a step further, not because what you said was wrong, but just because it's so different. And we've had things that are different before where someone might be thinking like, oh, okay, like when Guardians of the Galaxy first came out. And it's like, no, like full stop, no. Guardians of the Galaxy was a comedy through and through, and like Ant-Man was a heist comedy. But at the end of the day, they still were different. They still were, about superheroes or super guardians. and doing super things. Like there was a big bad guy to destroy. You never forgot about that. And if there wasn't a big bad guy, there was a big, infinity stone to get. There was always like this predetermined larger than life superhero goal. And while we have some of that in WandaVision, which again, we're not going to spoil that stuff right now, through and through, this was a sitcom. Through and through, this was like I Love Lucy, like first and foremost, it was one of those shows from back then.
Mm-hmm.
And it cares more about being that than being, it's so weird to explain because they are superheroes. You know what I mean? But it's different. If you had no clue what the MCU was, you would watch this and you watch this, you would just think this was some old show you never heard of. But then you would also just get really confused when the little hints of a cinematic universe and the little hints of a grand adventure are speckled in, because it's so out of place because the rest of the show is an old-timey sitcom. And so I would definitely agree with what you said, but I just wanted to drive that point home because we've seen that before, but it's not the same. This is that tenfold. And I love the decisions that they made, man, to do that.
Yeah. It's so hard not to spoil the show and talk about it, like it's not easy, but I guess more I was like smiling the entire time that we watched this episode because give me 1 second, I have to sneeze. So.
Preemptive bless you. You're not going to edit that out, right? We're going to keep that.
No, I think we'll keep it. So
yes.
But no, I really enjoyed the structure of the show, and I think I've seen a few reviews online that say that it's just okay, but for for two or three episodes, I can't really judge it. And I'm like, I think they're playing. You can tell that there are hints. It's hard to talk about this and not spoil the show, but there are hints of the larger cinematic universe, and like all over the place. You know, like if you know the Marvel comics and if you know WandaVision and their relationship and her past, like there's hints all over. Um, so I was loving it, and I knew what I was as a Marvel fan. I knew what I was getting into. Um, if I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how the normal the normal quote unquote just casual MCU fan is going to react to this. I don't know if it's going to be positive until the later half of the season where it really starts to pick up probably and be more action packed. I wonder I wonder how normal fans are reacting to it, or if leaning into the genre and leaning into that sitcom, do you think that helped?
So it's definitely interesting, right? Because I liked it, but I wasn't the same as you. By the end of the second episode, I loved it. But the first episode, I was kind of just like, because it's like I said before, it's like nothing we've ever seen before,
Right.
And so that was just so weird to me. Like, imagine if you're a Star Wars fan, imagine having a show about Anakin and Padme like while they're married, but like between episode 2 and 3, like literally just like Anakin's making breakfast, Padme's doing that. Like, it's a bad example, I know, but it's the closest one I could think of on a whim. So it was just weird to me. Like, I knew it was going to be a sitcom, but I didn't realize it was going to like be a sitcom before everything else, if that makes sense. So seeing like for the first 3 minutes, I think I was just kind of like, okay, this is a cool intro. Like, I get the world it's set in. When are we going to start? And then it kept going, and I was like, oh, we did start 3 minutes ago. Like, this is how it is the whole time. So at first I was like, I kind of was just like, but I feel like that was just me, like, seeing Scarlet Witch and Vision in a weird setting, if that makes sense. But once I got past that, like, I loved it. Once I was like, oh, cool, there's some weird stuff happening still. Because there you get some weird stuff in the first, you get weird stuff in both episodes,
Mhm.
without this. So it's like, oh, okay. There's yeah, it's a sitcom, but also like it is right now. It might not stay that way. You know what I mean? Like it could like completely evolve and change. And that kind of drew me in. The curiosity, like, what is WandaVision going to be on the third season? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
the third. Oh, you don't think? Yo, okay.
can like they stay as a sitcom this whole time? Like, can they avoid like, because clearly they're superhero characters. There's going to be some sort of big thing happening at some point, and we'll talk about our speculations on like what we think that could end up being and like the people who could be involved. But like, I feel like I personally am having a hard time seeing, and this is something I'm excited about. This is not a knock on it. I'm having a hard time seeing how they could keep what the show is now when bigger MCU type events are happening in it.
Right.
So I enjoy it very greatly. If you're a casual MCU fan, you might just kind of be like, it depends. If you like old sitcoms, like I Love Lucy. I think it's one of the best shows ever. And people, I was like, what? And I'm like, dude, go back and watch it. It's great. But I don't like, like the Wonder Years. I don't like the other older shows that much, but Lucy's just so funny. So it's one of those things where it's like, maybe if you're not even into superhero stuff, you'll like this. Maybe you'll be confused why there's weird mojo happening. Like you're like, oh, this is like Bewitched. Oh wait, no, it's weirder than Bewitched. This is like I'm just excited to see how people react to it because I have yet to fully articulate like how I feel about it. All I know is I want more. So that means I liked it, you know?
Right. And ultimately, I mean that's that means it succeeded in its goal. You know, I think especially with week to week releases like this, like we just got off the Mandalorian, and if you followed the Mandalorian, every single episode of that second season was almost incredible. I would say that might be, obviously we've had, people love Breaking Bad, people love, but I would say Mando season 2 might be one of the best seasons of television ever. It was incredible. And so I think that this succeeded. It dropped the first two episodes. I'm glad that it did because I think, right, I'm with you. If I would have just seen the first episode, I would have been like, like,
I wonder if that's why they did it. Because we haven't had that with either season of Mando. The first episode of each season is what's dropped, and that's it. You know, like I guess we'll see. Time will tell. Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out what? April or something like that? Isn't it sooner than later?
Loki comes in March, so I think.
Oh, it's
And
Loki that I was. Yeah.
does
So it's
Loki come
like
before that though?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because these are 8 episode runs. So there's one a week, and then Loki. Yeah. Okay. So Loki, not Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I'm curious. If Loki comes out and we just get one episode, then that kind of tells you that somebody at Marvel had the same thoughts as you. They watched it and they were like, huh, or someone at Disney even. They watched it and they're like, I think we need the second one.
Yes.
So, because I agree, if it was just the first one, I would have been like, this is interesting. But I feel like the first two together did a very good job of setting up what to expect for the whole season.
Yeah. Um, and once we get more into spoilers, I think it's going to be um, just. And I watched each episode like twice, and so when you kind of really, yeah, if you're looking for certain things, they pop out. And I did want to give credit Jack Schaefer, the writer. Um, I thought it was written so well. I loved, you know, the chemistry between Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. Olsen. Wow.
Often. Okay, Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I had a Mike Tyson moment. I thought their chemistry was awesome. Like you get hints of it in the movies, but to see them like fully embrace these characters, I thought was a great like gift to both of them because they've both been in the MCU for so long that it's like, okay, we can't give you a movie, but we'll give you this little pocket of a universe, and like they really are becoming these characters, and I think that's just something that um, Marvel is so good at. Obviously, we've seen it with Guardians and we've seen it with other properties, but they're not afraid to take risks, and they believe in these characters. You can clearly tell that like these, even though it was kind of more of a simple, it was a very simple plot. Both of these episodes. Obviously, it's going to get more complex, but like the show is about these characters. Same thing. I know we're gonna. This is the last time I mentioned Mando, but like those shows also have very simple plots, episode to episode. But their characters are so, they just believe in their characters. I think Disney's doing a fantastic job with that. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And before I say the next thing I want to say, I just want to take a second and just highlight you. I'm actually going to I'm going to pin you. So normally when I'm talking, people could only see me. So, oh no, we're in full screen mode. Did I break it? Exit full screen. Okay, I did something. Well, even if I pin you, I don't think that's going to change the recording. Anyway, we're doing this via Zoom. Tyler is actually down the hall at the end over there. He's literally right there. We're just trying to do this a little quarantine to just to be just to be safe. So we're in the same place. But this environment behind Tyler, you see those signs and that cap shield and Iron Man. This wasn't some Zoom background that Tyler just found. Tyler made this over the last like 3 days. So this is straight up Tyler's like, all right, I'm going to be doing some video stuff. Let me make a environment that is me. Because I have this environment, this is real. This is me, like this is literally like I put all those posters up and Tyler's like, I need some of that too. So look how cool that looks. He could have just used any Zoom background. He could have just recorded on a blank wall. We love these properties. This isn't just our background for this show. Tyler was like, I need a Zoom background. So much stuff is Zoom.
I'm sitting here like,
this is literally his personal Zoom background. So just look how dope that is. But with that, I want to say I agree with your opinion. And I wanted to point that out because it's not just the opinion of someone who, film critics like to watch stuff and then be like, okay, now I got to pump out a video. Like, this is an opinion of someone who's like, I need Iron Man in the background of my thing. I need Cap's shield. I need the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man poster. Like,
yeah.
But we love these properties. And we've had so many personal conversations between us about wanting to, just speculate on the future of Marvel. And it's like, all these shows are coming out, and it's different because you can have, was it 20, 22 movies, 26 movies, whatever the number is now. My brain. Pinned? No, you're not pinned.
Okay, cool.
But it's like you can have 22 movies, 26 movies, but those come out with 4 months in between them, and it's only 2 hours of content. We're already at like 50 minutes of that's already half a movie of WandaVision content in 2 episodes. So it's like you can have all your movies have a similar style and feel. That's fine because it's so weird to say, but movies aren't really long form content anymore like they used to be. They're movie length content. And that works, but you imagine with all of these shows coming out and it's, we're getting seasons of, if all of them had the same superhero MCU feel with the same, I know a lot of people knock the formula. I'm not knocking the formula. The formula has made Marvel one of the most not one of the most, is made Marvel the most successful studio in the history of ever. And it's the most successful franchise in the history of ever. So this isn't knocking the formula. But when you have all those movies, we're going to be past 30 movies soon with more that are coming out. But then you have the same amount of content come out as TV shows in just a year. They can't all have the same vibe. You know, they can't all have, they had to do something to differentiate it more. They have to make, you know, I firmly believe there's going to be real kid shows for children that will be in the mainland MCU.
Oh yeah.
That, like, there's going to be a detective drama that will be in the MCU. Like, all of these things that are just completely different. Shoot, I'm honestly not even like, I honestly, at this point, after watching these episodes of WandaVision, I don't think it's off the wall to say there can be a cooking show set in the MCU,
No,
which
yeah,
is literally just like a regular cooking show, but it's, you know, it's Deadpool being like, all right, everyone, here we go. We're going to make some chicken parm. So we're going to start with the chicken, you know, like, and there's literally no overlying plot. I don't think that's far-fetched anymore because there's going to be hundreds of hours. At this point, we're not even at 100 hours of MCU. Or no, we're not. We're not even at 100 hours of MCU content. In just a couple years, there will be hundreds of hours of and like literally a couple. 2 years will probably be over 200 hours of MCU content with all of the shows and all of the movies. So it's so different. It's so foreign. And I think the shows are just going to get more and more different and more foreign. And I am excited for that. All right. So do you have, before we break into the more spoiler territory, was there anything else you wanted to discuss? I want to do a quick ranking kind of off the cuff. But if you have something else first, then we'll jump into that.
No, not really. I just wanted to maybe get some of like your. No, I think we covered it. I just, for anybody who's gonna leave, just I would say give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? It's only 30 minutes.
Yep.
And,
The first one's not even. It's 26 minutes.
Yeah,
and then there's like 4 minutes of credits.
Yeah, I think everybody should give it a shot. And even if you're new to the Marvel universe, this may be a good entry point into the Marvel universe too. Now that I think about it, you know, like for someone who's brand new and they're like, I don't know where to start, you know,
That's
like
true.
I don't really want to sit and watch all the movies. Maybe this is a good, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's a new beginning for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So this may be a good entry point for new viewers.
Yeah, especially because there's stuff in the show that, and this isn't really a spoiler, but like we don't really know what's going on. Like where the neighborhood they live in, Vision's job, like all of this stuff, it's like you watch it and you're just like, wait, how did they get here? How did this happen? Like we do not have the answers to that as longtime MCU viewers. We have some theories, but like there were so many points where I was just like, oh, I wonder if it's this. I wonder if it's that. And like I said, we don't have the answers as super fans. So I definitely agree with what you said there, because if you want to jump in, like you'll be exactly where the rest of us are when you watch the show. But then you'll also be like, okay, you know, if this isn't your type of show, you'll be like, this isn't my type of show, but maybe you liked the writing. Maybe you're like, I don't like old timey sitcoms, but this was a perfect old timey sitcom. Like I didn't like it. It's just like the other old timey sitcoms I don't like, but it was just like them. I like superheroes. So maybe that means I'll like the superhero, the Marvel movies, you know? So I definitely agree with you that this is a good spot that you can jump in on, you know, it gets your feet wet. These are characters, you know, Paul Bettany's Vision has been in the MCU since its inception. Like he wasn't fully Vision then, but he was still in there since Iron Man 1. Mm-hmm. He is like you know, like he's like the most veteran character now that we have, which is super weird to say, but like, yeah. So give it a shot. If you are an MCU super fan, you're probably gonna give it a shot anyways, but I'm gonna say give it a shot. It's like, yeah, you might walk away loving it. You might walk away hating it. You might walk away being like, I don't know how I feel. That's how I was at the end of the first episode. At the end of the first episode, I was like, that was cool, but I don't know if it's my thing. Like, I know this is like well made. And I'm like, but if there's just this little sprinkling of stuff. But then by the second episode, I was like, I was in. I liked the world that it was in. I liked the characters. I liked the wacky nonsense of this old timey sitcom.
Yeah, the second one was. I mean, they were both written very well, but the second one I thought was, in terms of writing, in terms of story, I loved it. I loved what they did with the second episode.
Yeah, the second one was basically 150% the length of the first one too, so that's going to help there, and having the first one introduce everything. But yeah, so with that, I'm going to say on a scale from 1 to 5, I'm giving it a 4, like an even 4 stars. It's like 4 stars. I'm like, oh wait, that's 5. But it's a contentious 4 stars. It can go up or down for me personally. Like, this is my personal ranking of how I felt about it. If I had to say how well it was made, it's 5 out of 5. It's a 10. It was exactly what it was trying to be.
Mhm.
I think that that's something that I will continue to enjoy. The third episode will be my like final decider. I'm an MCU super fan, so I'm gonna watch it no matter what. But I think it's a 5 out of 5 on my personal scale of how much I like it. 4 out of 5, ready to go up or down. I'm assuming it's gonna be up.
For sure.
How do you feel?
I'm probably right where you're at. I might be leaning a little bit more towards a 5.
You're like a 9 out of 10.
I, I loved it, man. Like, I thought it was, and I, and it's, and I don't love everything that Marvel puts out. I don't love everything, you know.
Yeah.
But this just, I thought it was witty. Um, it was it was well paced. Um, the hints that they're dropping, and like every it's just I thought it was awesome. So yeah, no, I'm gonna sit at 5 out of 5 for me. Um, it could, and again for me too, it could go up, it could go down. I mean, if I think they're off to a great start. If they go off the rails and it does a nosedive, that'll surprise me. Um, but also, I mean, they worked on this for a long time. You know,
Yeah, they have.
they went back and I know they did reshoots and they had a whole year pretty much to polish this thing, and their other shows too. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And with that, that concludes our spoiler-free section. So if you are going to leave right now, but you want to follow up and get, the second episode, or we also just have more content in general. I stream Ring Fit every morning. I did not today because of just personal things happening in my life. But I stream Ring Fit every morning, Monday through Saturday. That's super fun. It's Nintendo's RPG adventure fitness game. Tyler is going to be going live on Tuesdays and Thursdays with his new show called The Rendered Image, which, surprise, Rendered Image is coming out Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's the first official announcement of that. So that's awesome. But then we also upload other content like this, our new regular Friday night show. So if you want to keep up with the MCU reviews, maybe you want to watch some gaming content, some fitness content, some just movie content in general, you found a home with the Young Cavs community. And be sure to join the Discord, even if you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But also the Discord in the description below will bring you to our Discord community server. Surprise. And that is a place where we have lots of different channels to talk about movies and to talk about games and talk about whatever you're into. So you could do requests, things that you want us to talk about, all that good stuff. But with that, we're going to give you like 5 seconds to get on out of here. And then I'm just going to shout a spoiler at the end of those 5 seconds. So you better hurry. You better hit exit. You better hurry up because time is running out. Time is running out. And Vision's a robot. Cyborg. Oh, sorry, guys. I spoiled it.
Vision's an illusion.
No. Ooh, that is technically true.
Right there.
All right.
They call him Illusion in the show. Let's start right there, my friend.
Yep.
In episode 2, his magician name is Illusion. Can we confirm now that he's not alive?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we can. However,
I mean, not
I do
confirmed,
have
but
I do have one question with that. So I'm gonna bring it back, and then after we talk about this, we should do a very quick run through of the episodes, just so we
Okay.
can like on the important points that are gonna be related to our conversation. Almost positive he's an illusion, but is Scarlet Witch powerful enough to create a pocket universe? Like has he been born of her illusion? Like did her, you know what I mean? Did her powers make it real? Did it make it real?
I don't know. There's so many, but there's so many questions, right?
There's so many questions.
It's like the stones are destroyed. So like what like where does this take place
So
in the time period?
the stones are not destroyed. First of all, they exist. They are reduced to atoms.
Oh.
I think that's one important thing we need to talk about because a universe cannot exist without its set of infinity stones. He said they're gone, reduced to atoms. So
Who said that?
they're Thanos. When he
Okay.
asked where the stones are, he's like, they're reduced to atoms. I can't do a Thanos. Don't judge me, guys. Come on. I do so many other voices good. Can't do a Thanos. It is what it is. But the implication is that they're destroyed. I highly doubt they are. But who's to say this takes place in our mainland MCU universe? Universe 616.
Right.
Are there stone, if yeah, man, so many questions.
There's stones in every multiverse, technically.
Oh, but no, I agree with you. I was just trying to
But all right.
This show is just so that I was
it's
trying to
crazy.
like
Why don't
prod.
you give a rundown of the episodes?
Okay. So this might sound bad, but I'm gonna skip like the sitcom-y parts and just kind of like
Yeah.
the big plot point. So it's a black and white, 1940s, 1950s style sitcom. Vision, Scarlet Witch live together, but they also are both very confused about many, many things. And at one point, so Vision works, he literally works at, what was it called? The Computation Center.
Yeah.
Or his work is basically called computer business. Like, if that doesn't sound like a made up name, I don't know what is. But so he works this computational center and he talks with his coworkers. He's like, what are we computing? And they never gave him an answer. He's like, are we computing stuff for imports? Nope. For exports? No. For stuff that we manufacture? Nope. And he was confused, but then he got distracted from his confusion because earlier in the episode, before he went to go to work, there was this calendar. On the calendar, there was a heart, which, usually means anniversary or something. And he pointed it out to Scarlet Witch, and she's like, oh, just like, what is this for? And he's like, oh, you don't remember? But then it became obvious that he didn't remember either.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them remembered. So that means that is an important date. And the world kind of, in my opinion, the world kind of filled in around that important date. So when he was at work, the assumption that they're under is that this is their anniversary, that Scarlet Witch is under, because her neighbor's like, oh, this must be your anniversary. So while he's at work, he realizes, oh, I put the heart on the calendar because I am having my boss over, Mr. Hart, and his wife, Mrs. Hart, for dinner. They come over, chaos ensues with dinner not being ready because Scarlet Witch is assuming, Wanda is assuming that it's their anniversary, so she didn't have anything prepared. She hurries up and makes some stuff with her magic superpowers. But then the boss is asking him questions. Or the boss's wife is asking the questions, and he follows up with it. Where did you meet? What do you do? And they don't have an answer. And he just keeps asking and keeps asking. And she's like, calm down, honey. Stop it. Stop it. And all of a sudden, he's choking. Something is not right. But something is not right with his wife either. She's not freaking out. She's still like a broken program. All right, stop it, honey. Stop it. Come on, stop it. As this man is on the floor choking to death. So then Vision, and Wanda says, Vision, help him. Goes, and he puts his hand through his throat and pulls out something. It was pretty big. This dude did not chew one bit, first of all. Whatever he pulled out was big. But then instead of being like, your hand was in my throat, it just like cuts back to a regular sitcom. And the guy was just like, well, that was a great dinner, but we have to go. Blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, I've got a good feeling about you. We'll talk about that promotion tomorrow or on Monday or whatever. And it was like, huh, why didn't that register? So then that's the gist of the first episode. We cut to the second episode now, and there is a magic show. And they want to prepare for this magic show and do magic tricks, but they want to do like obvious magic tricks so they look like they're humans still. But then also while Vision, there's some thumping on their windows from a tree, and that got them spooked because they didn't know it was a tree at first. So then Vision's like, I'm going to go check out the neighborhood watch stuff. He goes to check out the neighborhood watch, and at the same time, Scarlet Witch is doing the I don't know what it's called, like the it's not charity, what's it called? Like the little neighborhood, like the mom group, for lack of a better.
It's not a book club.
It's not a book club. They're the ones who set up all the events and stuff. Like, all right, the committee. Thank you. But so it's like the committee who is setting up this magic show. And they're at this fancy rich lady's house, and she's apparently the devil. I don't think she is, but she is just supposed to be awful, and she kind of is. And then once again, while there, her and Wanda don't necessarily get off to the best start. And Wanda brings this up to her, and all of a sudden, the radio comes on, and we hear someone who sounded like the guy from Ant-Man, the detective. What's his name? Jimmy something.
I forget, but yeah,
I forget.
It's definitely him.
Yeah. So we hear the FBI agent, the one from Crazy Rich Asians. We hear his voice on the radio, and he's like, Wanda, where are you? Who's doing this to you? I forget the exact words. And
I think you nailed it.
All of a sudden, this lady crushes the cup in her hand, and her hand's like bleeding. And the world and her blood is red. That's important because the show is black and white, but her blood is red, just like this helicopter that was the same colors as Iron Man that Wanda found in the front yard. Not just the same colors as Iron Man, but if you were to actually spin the propeller, it would have looked like his original arc reactor. But yeah, I noticed that, and I was like, oh, that would make the circle around it.
And it's got the sword. You missed the part at the very end of the first episode.
That's the end of the second episode. The sword, the bee guy.
Nope. They pull
out. Yeah.
They pull out at the end of that episode, and they show some guys writing in a book, like he's watching the show on the television.
Yeah, the aspect ratio changes. We are now in a regular TV show. And the credits even didn't say, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany. The credits say Wanda and Vision. So yeah, so this man is now watching this show. So you can continue to fill us in on that. On what he was doing.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you said the sword thing.
Oh, I just wanted the helicopter had the sword logo on it.
Oh, in his notebook, the guy who was watching the screen, his notebook on the table also had the sword logo.
So sword is involved somehow.
So to speed things up, Vision then goes to this neighborhood watch thing. Turns out these dudes, it's just this gossip group. Like they don't do anything. They just go there to drink and have a good time. Someone gives Vision a piece of gum, and he chews it to be like, yes, I am normal human man. Except he accidentally swallows it. We get this little 2D animation of his stomach is apparently just 3 gears, which is I love the simplicity. And the gum is getting tangled in the gears. That essentially makes Vision drunk. So now Vision shows up to this magic show as if he had just drank a lot of alcohol. And instead of doing their normal cheesy magic tricks, he is doing real superpower magic tricks, and he begins to float. And he begins to do other things, and Scarlet Witch has to continue to cover for him, and all of a sudden will into existence like a pulley with a rope attached to him. So it's like, oh, look at our trick. This is how we got him in the air. Haha. up until the very, very end of the trick of their routine, where he brings out the box of whatever it was called, where Wanda was supposed to go in, hide behind a secret trap door. He was going to open it. I've made my wife disappear, and then the trap door was going to spin and she was going to come out. Knock, knock, knock with his wand on the box. Has my wife disappeared? However, all of a sudden, oh right, she never went in the box. She's standing next to it. Oh no, what are we going to do? And everybody is chanting in unison, what's in the box? What's in the box? Just like how earlier in the episode, everybody was chanting something about for the children. They did that multiple times. Mm-hmm. They opened the box, and in it is Geraldine, I believe was the name she introduced herself as, who we know is the girl, is really what's her name?
Monica Rambeau.
Monica. Yeah, thank you. Is really Monica from Captain Marvel, the little child. So she's not that surprised about it. She just kind of asks. She's like, "Yeah, all of a sudden I was one place, and all of a sudden I was in this box." And there's like, "Oh, magician never reveals his secrets." And she's just like, "All right, that's good enough for me." So then, as the episode is ending, we see that Wanda is pregnant out of nowhere. They just talk about the children, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my gosh," and they're so happy. And then they go outside as they hear something. And out of the sewers climbs a man in a beekeeper suit with bees flying all around him. And on the back of his beekeeper suit is the SWORD logo. And for those of you who don't know, SWORD is the opposite of SHIELD. SHIELD is Nick Fury's organization that, I say it's Nick Fury's organization that created the Avengers in the first Avengers movie, and they did so many other things. SWORD, SHIELD protects the Earth. SWORD protects outer space. It protects from non-Earth things. Wanda does not like that, and she says, nope, and rewinds time, and she rewinds it to right when he was asking about her pregnancy. He's like, is this really happening? She says, yes, this is really happening, which seems like it is not really happening. And thus concludes our longer than it needed to be summary of those two episodes. We'll get better at this. This is the first episode.
Yeah, no, I think
today was a little off. We'll have summaries prepared in bullet points.
Yeah, no, we'll get better at it. But there's
there's just so much weirdness that we were introduced to.
There's so much packed into this. So let me look at my notes, man, because it's like, okay, so the first thing in the first episode, I think, throughout the whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. I think Wanda is in control more than we know. I think in that first episode, I think she's the reason why that guy's choking.
Interesting.
It seems like, the wife is like, oh, stop it, being all funny. But then she specifically turns to Wanda and tells her to stop. It's not like please stop him from choking. It's your fault. Like, stop it. And then she tells Vision to help him.
Very interesting.
And then that jump is weird too. So I'm almost when I watched it twice, I'm almost like, did she affect time in that spot too? Did she mess with time and I think she did something there with that jump, because that didn't make any sense to me until we saw the second one, and then she did what she did in the second episode. And I'm like, did she mess up with that first episode at all? And so I think that was, upon rewatch, I was like, this seems weird.
So in response to what you said in a note of affirmation, you said you think she's more in control than like the show kind of lets on. I would agree with that, because she literally rewound time. When something in the show happened that she didn't like, she rewound it back to a moment she did like. Mm-hmm. And like I said, at the end of the second episode. Now, my question is, because I feel like she's being monitored. Like, I feel like this, so the show, this dude if this dude who works at Sword
is clearly
isn't
watching
watching a show, he is watching her brain scan or
right.
something.
Well,
You
yeah,
know.
no, I mean the show's called WandaVision, so you can take that multiple ways.
Yep, that's what I was gonna get to. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's literally WandaVision, but it's also from Wanda's vision. It's from her perspective. But so my question there, it brings us to so many things, especially when we talk about Agatha and Agnes. But so her neighbor in the show, her name in the show is Agnes. So the MCU doesn't normally bring in like brand new characters. They do, they introduce their own characters, but they're usually for like smaller side parts. This lady has been in both episodes and is clearly the biggest character besides Wanda and Vision so far.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those of you who don't know, one of Wanda's adversaries turned allies in the comics is Agatha Harkness, and she is a sorceress. So if we take the first two letters of her name from Agatha, and then we take the end of Harkness and put it together, you get Agnes.
Yep.
And Agatha, and I saw this one on Twitter, but Agatha has a brooch that she normally wears. It's normally right here, but Agnes has a brooch right on her shoulder, and they are right in front of her shoulder. And they have the same type of hairstyle. Their outfits are similar. You know, you can't say for sure it's the same person, but she's at least based off of her. We can say that much, you know. Well, I'm saying we don't know the direction the show is going to go, so
No.
she might stay Agnes, but it's kind of like how Star Wars Legends, you know, the Star Wars books had a Ben Solo
Right.
before the sequel trilogy, before we found out Kylo Ren was Ben Solo, but then it's still the Ben Solo from the sequel trilogy is not the same as the Ben Solo from the books. He's just heavily inspired by him.
Right.
So this lady's real name could be Agnes, but at the end of the day, she is the MCU version of Agatha Harkness. So
Yes.
I find that very interesting because she started as an enemy of Wanda, but later she became a mentor and she became an advisor, and she would help guide her. And there's one comic series, I forget what it's called, but she puts Wanda under a spell. She like traps her in this alternate reality in this spell. She's experiencing things that aren't how they are in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole point of it is to mentor her and to grow her and to evolve her and make her stronger. So, you know, you have stuff like that and you have the people spectating. You're like, how in control is Wanda? Because Vision stayed drunk, you know, gum drunk, until she used her little x-ray vision and removed the gum wad from his gears and out of his mouth. And then he was fine, where like she could have just fixed it, right? Let's just rewind time a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, make it disappear. But so it's just, yeah, it begs the question, how in control is she?
Yeah, you bring up a good point there.
You know, is she under a spell? Is Agnes an ally or a foe? Because in the comics, she was both. And she keeps mentioning her husband, but we never see him.
I was going to say, yeah.
Which is extremely weird when you think about the fact that at this talent show, everybody was there with their spouse. Every character was sitting with their spouse except for her. So it's like, where is this guy? Very interesting. So you said you were about to mention that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, when they're in the committee meeting and I forget what's her name, Dottie or whatever.
Yeah, it's Dottie.
Yeah, I forget what the devil comment that she said.
She said the devil's in the details.
Devil's in the details. Yes.
And then Agnes followed up with, "That's not the only thing he's in."
Right. And why would she say that? Because that seems kind of strange to the normal viewer.
Yeah, that seems very strange.
But I feel like that's a Mephisto reference right there.
I definitely agree with that. I think that is coded language. Let's just say it that way, because I still try to keep this stuff, family friendly as I can. I think that is coded language, adult speak for the devil is my husband.
Exactly. Um, yeah, there's also too some. So I did a little bit of digging and going back to the beekeeper. Apparently, in the comics, there is a scientist that worked for Hydra that
Okay.
was called Swarm. His name was Swarm, and he could like control bees. And so
Very
I'm
interesting.
wondering if 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 Kevin Feige and those guys took that guy and instead maybe he is a scientist for Sword, but maybe he's working for Mephisto or who knows. But I found that very interesting that that's either a wink and a nod to that character or that's the actual scientist, the actual Swarm character. Who knows?
So you bring up a good point. Uh because he did have the sword emblem on his back. So it's like, okay, this guy looks like this guy's obviously part of Sword. And he didn't have a Hydra emblem on his back. However, the show does have a commercial break in each episode. And I say commercial break loosely because the commercial break is part of the show. The first commercial break in the episode 1 is for a toaster. And I like how you start up that toaster, and we'll get back to it. But basically, it's an Easter egg, but I think it might be more than that. The toaster is made by Stark Industries, and I like when they start it up, you hear the of Iron Man's gauntlet before he sends a blast off. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But in the second episode, there was a watch, and what was so special about that watch, Tyler?
That was Baron von Strucker or Struckers was the name of the watch.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the Hydra. I don't. Was he a scientist? I guess
He was
so.
the scientist slash leader from uh what's it called? Not Winter Soldier. From Ultron, Age of Ultron.
Yeah. And he's basically the guy that experimented on Wanda and Quicksilver.
And obviously he's Hydra, like we said. The watch has underneath it the Hydra symbol.
Yes.
So apparently there's something to go on with Hydra.
Hydra's
We
not
know they infiltrated Shield. Have they infiltrated Sword?
exactly. I can't imagine there's an if they infiltrated one, they probably infiltrated both. And what's their phrase? Cut off one head,
Two more grow in its
two more
place.
grow in its place. Yeah. So yeah, I think Hydra's around. There's also that rumor that Chris Evans is coming back as Captain America. So
Yeah. And on top of that, we have the what was it? We know we're getting a secret invasion arc
yes,
at some
the
point.
whole show.
A whole show, yeah.
Yeah.
So I more meant arc of the MCU. But yeah, we're getting a secret invasion show. And we know Nick Fury works with the Skrull. We see that at the end of Spider-Man, in the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, in the end credit scene when they're on the Sword base.
Yeah.
So you have Hydra and Skrull. Like, it's like double dipping in the who's who. You know what I mean? Because a Hydra, they're a spy. They infiltrate, and they pretend to be your ally, and then they're actually your enemy. A Skrull, they shapeshift, and they take your memories. So are we going to have Skrull as Hydra? Skrull, you know what I mean? Skrull is regular, like good Skrull, regular other like enemy Skrull who are part of Hydra, who are either trying to take over Hydra or actually even running Hydra from behind the scenes. There's so many questions.
Yeah,
there's so many implications.
So many crazy questions.
Where does Mephisto? Oh, sorry.
Well, yeah, no, Mephisto. Again, Agnes. I'm just gonna call her Agatha because that's who she is. Um, sorry if you disagree, then we'll see what happens in future episodes. Um, it is interesting. It's like, is she is she there to help Wanda, or is she there to, or I'm assuming she's villain. I'm assuming that she's in the villain, and I think yeah, no, they're because one of the first things that she says is, "Oh, why are you here alone?" And like, and then when they're at the dinner, I think part of the reason why I believe that Wanda made the guy choke was because they're both centered around questioning of the reality of the world. He was very much like, "Why are you here? Why did you move? Where did you come from?" And then he slams the table and he gets super angry with her or with them, and he demands answers, and they can't come up with any answers. And I think that's why she made him choke, because she got angry. She's like, don't question my reality. Don't question, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're making me think about stuff I don't want to think about. Same thing with the beekeeper. Obviously that brought up something where she was like, no. So all that to say, I think Mephisto and Agatha.
Especially if he's her husband,
Yeah,
like
yeah. But
they're
I think that
usually husband and wife aren't on opposite sides.
they want, no, definitely. But I think well, I guess what I was saying there is she going to turn? Is she going to be a good person by the end? Who knows? But I think um, they want the kids, right?
Do you think so?
I think so. I think that
So
I think that's what the whole show is going to revolve around, is
very
protecting these children.
interesting. So in the comics, when because Wanda does become pregnant in the comics with twins,
Yeah.
and all we know is she's pregnant right now. But from the trailer, we know that it's twins. We know there's two of them. So is it like Tommy and Tommy and James or something like that? I forget their names. Uh, but she doesn't become pregnant the regular way. She becomes pregnant because Mephisto imbues life force inside of her.
Right.
So
So they're
he
not
is
Vision's kids.
literally the father of those children. And, if Vision can't eat food, then he probably can't have a baby. We'll
Right.
just put it that way. So, yeah, I guess it's so interesting because let me divert the track really quick. Where do you think the show takes place? So for me, and by that I mean, you could say she's being analyzed by Sword,
That's what it seems on the surface. That's what it seems like.
but then it's like, okay, so where does Mephisto come in? Sword doesn't have him. You know what I mean? Mephisto's not sitting next to her
Right.
with a brain scan thing to be in her
Right.
world
That
that she's
crazy.
made. Yeah, so it's like, where does Mephisto and Agatha come in? And also, like these other people are able to come into this world, it looks like, because Monica, we have the beekeeper.
She's there, yeah.
Who is from Shield or from Sword. You have Monica, who is also from Sword, or we're assuming is from Sword. And then more importantly, you have a guy from Sword literally monitoring this on a TV, which means Sword has to have her, right?
Except I would say
To see her
yes.
thoughts?
I would say yes. It's looked like my screen glitched.
Yeah, just for a second.
I would say yes, but the Jimmy dude is trying to figure out who's doing stuff to her, right? He's asking Wanda, who's doing this to you?
Yeah.
So maybe they are monitoring her, but they don't know what's going on with her, obviously. I don't know.
Do we know when this takes place, by the way?
No, I don't think so.
So my current assumption, again, I just watched the episode not that long ago that I'm going off of. When I heard him asking her those questions, I was thinking, so like some therapists will really use hypnosis, like not like the magician, like I'm gonna make you, balk like a chicken hypnosis, but like they'll get you in like a near hypnotic state, and they'll ask you to go back and like try and remember to get you to try and remember a traumatic event or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And while you are in that state, even though you are in that event and reliving whatever, like go to your childhood, go to this moment, go to the day that this happened, even though you're like walking through that in your mind, you're still like, you still know where you are. Like they'll ask you questions, if that makes sense. And they'll say, "Where are you now?" And you'll say, and you're in your house. You say, "I'm in my house. I'm with my husband, Vision." And like, if something's happening, who's doing this to you? You might be. So that was kind of like, I don't know. That's kind of like what I'm leaning towards. Like, is she like feeding them answers like directly, like with her mouth? You know what I mean? Like, is she actually like speaking to someone like in the real world? Because this is not, like you said, Vision's name, his magician name, was literally illusion. Like, because he's not real. He's an illusion. So
And
yeah,
I
it's one of those
guess
things
it's
where
interesting
like,
because if you're a newcomer, that you don't know he's dead, or like you know what I'm saying. You don't know that he died.
yeah.
So that's interesting.
Sorry
How
guys.
interesting? How interesting would it be to be somebody so totally fresh to this universe, and just this be your first entry? That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Because then you just get all these like every little revelation that happens. You're just like, what? This is crazy.
We might need to do a video where we find someone who hasn't watched anything
That'd be awesome.
and like get their reaction. But
Um,
yeah, so
yeah.
so I guess, yeah, because I feel like, figuring this out has to do with Mephisto and all that other stuff. Or not figuring it, but like, where do you think, like, how do you think Mephisto plays in? Like, does he have
So
Wanda when the Mind Stone exploded right next to her? Uh, when she destroyed it, and then when Thanos rewound time and undestroyed it, and it flowed through her again, did that, you know, give her access to different dimensions? Like did that create a moment for Mephisto to reach out?
yeah, that's some theories that I've heard too. Yeah, is that the destruction of the stones is allowing Mephisto to do what he's doing. Like he wasn't able to do that previously, but now that they've destroyed the stones, they've broken the universe, and Mephisto can come in and do that. I also, in my book that I was reading, they mentioned Doom a lot. How originally, like, Doom kind of manipulated Wanda, Doctor Doom.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just said Doom.
I knew who
Assuming
you
that
meant,
people would know.
but yeah.
Doctor Doom um, comes in and like eventually marries Wanda and manipulates her, and that's actually it's one of her weaknesses. It's one of her weaknesses is she can be manipulated very easily. I thought it was very interesting. I was like,
That is interesting. And yeah, man, like it's just so, like,
and
what is she? You know what I mean? Like
I mean, and
at this point.
there's the whole what House of M
Yep.
storyline where basically once she um her whole world falls apart, and I'm curious to see if like if Vision if her realizing that Vision and the kids are not real, if that's what's going to make her snap. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. And then there's the whole plot line where they make a deal, right? In the comics, she makes a
Mm-hmm.
deal with Mephisto um, for the kids, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
So if Mephisto's playing heavily into this stuff,
to keep the
because
kids
we
alive is what the deal was.
we don't know where in the MCU this lies.
Right.
We don't know, is this universe 616? Is this in a controlled experiment on her? Is this, are they trying to, because now that because the world kind of stopped. It's my biggest reason I can't really get into Endgame, but the world stopped in between Infinity War and Endgame.
True.
Like
That
everyone
was
was like,
that was kind of a down.
oh, all these people died. We're just gonna cancel sports and cancel everything and cancel progress, and no one was trying to do
We kind of
anything.
lived that last year, but yeah.
So it's like, okay, it is now all the people are back, after Endgame. So it has started back up, so to speak, I would assume, which we kind of see in Spider-Man Far From Home. The
Right.
world's a regular
That was the last
place.
piece of MCU content that we got.
And from there, we see like the world is a regular place. These kids are going to school, they're going on field trips.
Yeah, it went back
We
to
know
normal.
Sword exists, which wasn't even a thing we knew about beforehand,
Right.
which maybe Sword is the response to Thanos, so that doesn't happen again, just like S.H.I.E.L.D. was the response to New York. But my point with all that is in the grand scheme of the MCU, maybe they're trying to bring Vision back to life. Maybe she's powerful enough to do that. And without the because he is a robot, you know?
Yeah.
He's not organic. So, you think your hard drive gets damaged, 99% of the time you gotta throw it away. But a forensics, a computer forensics expert has the ability to recreate it.
Yeah. Her and
You
Vision
know?
could be hooked up, or it could be
Yeah, and
in this
maybe
in this comatose state or whatever together. Yeah.
maybe they have Vision's, cyborg body, which is made out of vibranium. Let's not forget that part too.
Right.
And maybe, she's the only one powerful enough to help bring him back. Maybe she's helping Shield do that because he's or she's helping Sword do that because he's an asset.
And this
But
is
if he's not back, because that's already connecting two different people is kind of where I'm getting at with this theory.
yeah.
So
I like
maybe
this
there's
theory.
some people trying to hijack that connection.
I think
Maybe Mephisto is entering through Vision again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no.
who
I think
knows?
you have a great theory. I think it, and if it comes to the truth and if it actually happens, props to you because I think that very well could be happening.
Hey, that'd be dope.
But I think we've been going on for a long time. I don't know how much longer we want to go. I've covered
Yeah.
everything I want to cover. So
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I really like the MCU Easter eggs, which can be more than Easter eggs. We'll find out. I, you know, does this take place before or after Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? I think when we find that out, that will answer a lot of questions because I firmly believe Mephisto is going to be part of the Multiverse of Madness.
oh yeah, I
And
think he's going to be the villain for that arc for sure.
so it's like, is this the lead in? Does this follow it up? You know what I mean? Like there's so much like,
And how much does Loki play into that?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we have these different we for sure have a few different universes. And Loki is in one of them, alive with an Infinity Stone. Last we saw, maybe they took it away. And Scarlet Witch is for sure in one of them. Maybe in her own pocket universe. Maybe she is the Mind Stone now. Like there's so many possibilities. Like
Exactly.
maybe she has become the Mind Stone. Maybe there's so many things that could be going on. But I guess I'll just ask this. Would you rather have this be a lead-in to Multiverse of Madness, take place congruently, like we straight up get some WandaVision stuff in Doctor Strange too, where like he finds this world of hers type thing? Or would you have like this to come after and be its own separate thing?
Um, uh, I think it's happening congruently with. I don't know because if you look at the release order, it's this, and then it's Spider-Man, and then Multiverse of Madness. So I would say that I would like it to be going on at the same time as Multiverse of Madness, but I feel like that might be too removed if we're going to get if we're dealing with Doctor Strange and some sort of multiverse in Spider-Man 3, then that seems kind of odd that that's stuck right in the middle of that and Doctor Strange 2. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
I'm like, I would like it to be like, oh yeah, this and Doctor Strange 2 are happening at the same time, and then whatever she's doing over here in this universe triggers Doctor Strange to go explore the multiverse or whatever. But then there's like Peter's multiverse thing rumored to be
Yeah.
happening. It's like that's going to be in the. I mean, I guess. And then when they're all out, you can just be like, oh yeah, this was happening at the same time as Doctor Strange. I don't know, but they just seem too removed in time in terms of viewing from each other. But who knows?
Very true. I think I could see this being congruent, but also like a lead-in. Like maybe this happens
is.
like a little before, but like some events are going to happen at the same time type thing.
Mhm.
For sure, all we know is it's one season right now. It could be more, but right now it's only one, right? It hasn't been renewed or anything like that.
Yeah,
That
for right now, I think it's only
so
one season.
yeah, so we'll see then. This could be a standalone. This could
I would love it.
She could be a main character in Multiverse of Madness. You know what I mean? Or like
I think she's
it could
definitely in the
be
movie.
her, it could be Strange against Mephisto, like racing for her.
Yeah.
And Strange is teamed up with Sword trying to get to her. And Mephisto,
The little cameo from our good friend Spidey.
Yes.
Or all three Spideys.
Yes, man. Yeah, dude. Who knows,
you got
dude?
Sam Raimi directing that Doctor Strange. Tobey Maguire's coming in.
And one of Spidey's biggest issues, in the comics, his biggest arcs, has to do with Mephisto too.
Yeah.
And it's just
true.
like,
there is the MJ. There's the MJ arc, isn't there?
Yeah.
That's
the deal with the devil
series. Yeah.
No, that's from the comics. Deal with the devil. That's when
oh yes.
To bring it sucks, but to bring Aunt May back, who was already like 103 and had like a perfect send off where she died and was like, I'm proud of you. I always really knew you were Spider-Man, like blah, blah, blah. It was a beautiful send off. And then it was just like, you know what? Me and MJ are going to sacrifice our marriage to bring MJ back to life. Yes, Mephisto, let's make that deal. That's basically that story. There's more to it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not the biggest fan of how things played out, of how Spidey comics have played out at all since 1988. But
I wonder if we're ever going to explore that Spidey Mephisto relationship.
I would hope so, especially like you said, with Sam Raimi directing Doctor Strange, and he's done Spidey stuff, and Spidey's going to be in a multiverse most likely this year, and there's going to be another multiverse movie with Doctor Strange called Multiverse of Madness this year. And who knows, maybe WandaVision will tie them together.
Now we're going to get into the speculation big time on my rendered image show for sure.
Very exciting.
And it's going to be, we're going to Spidey hype train all year. That is what I'm on. We are on the Spidey hype train.
The Spidey hype train, the MCU hype train.
The MCU hype train. Once we get the teaser trailer, we will be dissecting that teaser trailer probably for weeks. But
yep.
So well, thank you everybody for joining. If you stuck around this whole time, thank you so much. And please subscribe. And
subscribe, hit that like button. It all directly contributes. Like, you wouldn't think it does, like just hitting like. It really does. We had a few people that we just kind of asked as an experiment to tune in to some videos. And just when we had those extra few people tuning in, our visibility skyrocketed. And all of a sudden the chat was full of 4 new people who were all like, yo, I'm subscribing. Yo, I'm joining your Discord, that were completely separate from those people that we asked to watch. YouTube just, I don't know the algorithms, but it's a real thing. So with that, I just want to say, hit the like button if you enjoyed this nerd talk, and you will get more of it. Even if you don't hit the like button, you'll still get more of it. But if you like it, why not? Hit the subscribe button to stay up to date. Ring the bell or whatever. I always forget to ring the bell. If you don't ring the bell, I won't take it personal. But the bell's cool, I guess. That's what all the other tubers are saying right now. And as always, don't forget to join the Discord if you want to be part of the Young Cavs community and give your opinions to us about these movie things, about these video game things, and stay up to date, find people to game with, find people to speculate with. It's all a good time. Like I said, we have our other streaming stuff. Tyler is going to be going live solo for his new show, The Rendered Image, on Tuesday, again on Thursday. I will be live every morning except for Sundays. Sundays I might, but it's not a guarantee. So Monday through Saturday, I'm going to be live doing Ring Fit. And then Thursday nights, I will be live playing Smash Bros. Yeah. So with viewers.
Every Friday night, you get MCU reviews.
That's right. So make sure to tune in next week for episode 2. I was going to say 3 because it's the 3rd episode of WandaVision. Make sure to tune in next week for the MCU review of WandaVision episode 3. And that's it for today. You guys absolutely rock. Stay awesome.